Imagine a world hidden beneath the water's surface. Sunlight pierces gently, filtering through the floating leaves of water hyacinths. In the silent depths, among twisted roots and moss-covered stones, lives a tiny creature that seems to belong to another world, an axolotl. This is where our journey begins, in the waters of Lake Xochimilco, Mexico, the last place on Earth where the axolotl survives. They are not just ordinary salamanders. They are inhabitants of a nearly forgotten world, creatures that defy the laws of nature, remaining in their larval form for life, like a child refusing to grow up. Axolotl, a name that sounds foreign yet carries deep historical roots. The name comes from Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs, who believed these creatures were the embodiment of Xolotl, the god of fire and lightning who fled from death. Legend says that in desperation, Xolotl transformed into this aquatic creature to escape sacrifice. Yet, he was eventually captured, and now his descendants swim in the lake that once served as his refuge. But beyond the myth, the axolotl has an even older history. They belong to the salamander family, amphibians that have survived since prehistoric times. They are descendants of ancient amphibians that roamed the earth more than 300 million years ago, long before the first humans ever set foot on this planet. Axolotls once thrived in many of Mexico's waterways, but now they can only be found in one place, Xochimilco. Long ago, Xochimilco was more than just a lake. It was a water city where the Aztecs built chinampas, artificial islands for farming. Hundreds of years ago, the waters here were clear, teeming with life, and axolotls swam freely, exploring their underwater forests. But times changed. The modern city grew, and Xochimilco shrank, became polluted, and nearly lost its life. Now, the lake is more like a dying maze of canals. Amidst all this, the axolotl endures, the last remnant of a nearly vanished aquatic kingdom. They live among dangling roots that reach into the water, slipping behind stones, waiting for tiny prey to drift by. Though they may seem defenseless, they are efficient predators, feeding on worms, small fish, and anything small enough to fit into their mouths. One of the strangest things about the axolotl is that it never changes. Most salamanders undergo metamorphosis, transforming from larvae into adult forms that can live on land. But the axolotl rejects this rule. They remain in their larval form for life, fully aquatic, breathing through delicate pink gills that extend from their heads, as if they were beings from legend rather than reality. This phenomenon is called neoteny, a condition where an organism retains juvenile characteristics throughout its life. In the world of science, this is an anomaly. Why do axolotls stay like this? Why don't they develop into land-dwelling salamanders like their close relative Ambystoma tigrinum? The answer lies hidden in their genes. Axolotls possess a unique ability to suppress the hormones that trigger metamorphosis. This allows them to remain in water, avoiding terrestrial threats and maintaining their advantage as underwater predators. But the most astonishing thing of all is their ability to regenerate. 19th century, European scientists began observing these creatures with deep curiosity. They brought axolotls into laboratories, expecting to see them undergo metamorphosis like other salamanders. But something strange happened. They didn't change. Even more astonishing, when they lost limbs in experiments, something incredible occurred. The limbs grew back, perfectly as before. And it wasn't just legs or arms. Axolotls could regenerate tails, eyes, hearts, and even parts of their brains. It was as if they were creatures that defied biological fate. If a human lost an arm, it would be a permanent wound. But for an axolotl, it was merely a small repair job that they could complete in a matter of weeks. And this is where their story takes a turn. From being just small creatures in the waters of Mexico, they became the focus of scientific fascination. Research began, aiming to uncover the secrets of their regeneration. But while the world became increasingly intrigued by their miraculous abilities, axolotls faced a threat far greater, one they could not regenerate from: extinction. In a world that constantly changes, where every creature must adapt to survive, there is one species that refuses to bow to the rules of nature. It does not just endure, it repairs itself, creating a biological marvel that even scientists struggle to understand. The axolotl is not just an ordinary aquatic creature. It holds the key to the secrets of regeneration, a phenomenon that, until now, has only existed in myths. Now, we will dive deeper into their world, into the body and mechanisms that make the axolotl one of the most extraordinary creatures on the planet. Imagine this. An axolotl is swimming in the depths of Xochimilco. Among the shadows of roots dangling into the water, a predatory fish suddenly strikes from behind. In an instant, its tail fin is torn apart. In the animal kingdom, such an injury could be fatal. A wound like this could make them more vulnerable to infections, or worse, unable to escape from the next danger. But the axolotl is different. It does not panic. Shortly after the attack, an almost magical process begins. For humans, when we get injured, our bodies form scar tissue as a way to protect themselves. The wound will close, but the tissue that forms is never the same as before. We might lose function in that area, and in extreme cases, a severe wound can change our lives forever. But for the axolotl, it does not form scars. Instead, it restarts the growth of its cells as if it were developing for the first time in an egg. When an axolotl loses a limb, the cells around the wound do not simply die. Instead, they return to a pluripotent state, a condition where cells can transform into anything. This is similar to how embryonic cells work, rebuilding body parts from scratch. Within weeks, new tissue starts to grow, forming muscles, bones, and even nerves. This means the axolotl does not just heal itself, it reconstructs its lost body parts flawlessly, without any deformities. The wonders of the axolotl do not stop there. If we think only its hands and feet can regrow, we would be mistaken. Scientists have discovered that axolotls can also regenerate. Their tails, including the severed spinal cord, parts of their brains, something extremely rare in the animal kingdom, their eyes, including lost lenses due to injury, internal organs such as the heart and lungs. How is this possible? The answer lies in a unique type of cell that axolotls possess in large numbers: blastema cells. A blastema is a cluster of cells capable of developing into various types of tissue. When an axolotl loses a body part, a blastema forms at the wound site and begins to develop into a new structure. Even more astonishing, this process does not cause aging or weaken their bodies. Humans, for example, experience DNA degradation every time cells regenerate. This is why we age. But axolotls seem to have a way to keep their genetic information intact, as if they hold the secret key to immortality. Scientists worldwide are fascinated by the axolotls' abilities. If they can regenerate almost any part of their bodies, could we, as humans, one day do the same? Since its discovery in the 19th century, the axolotl has become a major subject of study in regenerative biology. In laboratories, researchers are trying to uncover how this creature achieves what seems impossible. One of the main keys to their regeneration lies in the PAX7 gene, which controls how cells in wounded areas remain flexible and capable of developing into new tissue. Humans also have this gene, but it is not as active as in axolotls. Some experiments have even attempted to replicate their regenerative mechanisms using stem cell therapy. If humans could find a way to activate regenerative cells, like the axolotl, we might be able to heal major wounds, repair damaged spinal cords, or even regrow lost organs. However, one mystery remains unsolved. Why is the axolotl the only one capable of doing this? Beyond the world of science, the axolotl has long been part of myths and legends. In Aztec culture, the axolotl was considered a creature that defied fate, just like the god Xolotl, who refused to be sacrificed. Even in some modern beliefs, the axolotl is seen as a symbol of immortality and rebirth. Some Mexican folklore suggests that axolotls are not just ordinary salamanders, but rather guardians of the balance between the human world and the spirit world. There is a belief that if someone eats an axolotl, they could obtain a long life, but also be cursed to live forever in sorrow. One ancient story also mentions that axolotls are keepers of sacred waters, and whoever disturbs their habitat will be cursed. Perhaps this is just a legend, but considering how they are now on the brink of extinction due to human actions, we must ask ourselves, is this really just a myth? Behind the biological wonders they possess, a bitter reality looms over the axolotl. Once dominant in the waters of Mexico, this creature now stands on the brink of extinction. Ironic, isn't it? A species capable of regenerating nearly its entire body now struggles to survive in a world that refuses to stop changing. Now, we will dive into the threats they face, their fight for survival, and the last hope for this species. Imagine Lake Xochimilco centuries ago. Crystal clear waters filled with aquatic plants that provided perfect hiding spots for the axolotl. They swam freely, hunting peacefully among the natural canals that had been their home for thousands of years. But if we look at Xochimilco today, the scenery is different. The water is no longer clear. Pollution, Urbanization and environmental changes have turned this ecosystem into something nearly unrecognizable. A heartbreaking fact? Axolotls are now almost impossible to find in the wild. What led to this disaster? 1. Water pollution. Waste from industries and households has contaminated the lakes where they once thrived. Axolotls require clean, oxygen-rich water, but as pollution increases, their ability to survive diminishes. 2. The invasion of predatory species. Humans introduced fish like tilapia and carp into Xochimilco, and now these species pose a huge threat. They feast on axolotl eggs and compete for food, accelerating the species' decline. 3. Urbanization and lake drainage. As Mexico City continues to expand, the demand for water grows, and Xochimilco is one of its sources. Many parts of the lake have been drained or diverted for human needs, leaving axolotls without a home. In a survey conducted in 1998, scientists could still find about 6,000 axolotls per square kilometer in Xochimilco. However, by 2015, that number had plummeted to just 35 per square kilometer. Today, the numbers are likely even lower. If no drastic action is taken, the axolotl may only survive in laboratories and aquariums, losing its place in the wild forever. But not all hope is lost. Scientists, conservationists, and local communities are working to restore axolotl populations in the wild. Several measures are being taken. Restoring Xochimilco's habitat. Governments and environmental organizations have launched projects to clean the lake and rebuild its ecosystem. One initiative involves creating Chinampa refugees, artificial sanctuaries that simulate the axolotl's natural habitat, free from pollution and invasive predators. Captive breeding programs. Across the world, axolotls are being bred in captivity to prevent extinction. However, a major challenge remains. Axolotls raised in laboratories often struggle to adapt when reintroduced into the wild. Raising public awareness? Local residents are now being encouraged to participate in axolotl conservation. Many farmers around Xochimilco are shifting to more eco-friendly agricultural practices to reduce water pollution. Yet, the question remains: is this enough? Despite being nearly extinct in the wild, axolotls have become increasingly famous in the human world. A scientific wonder. Axolotls are one of the most studied species in medical research. Scientists hope that one day we may unlock their regenerative abilities to heal human diseases. A pop culture icon with its permanent smiling face and unique body, the axolotl has become a cultural icon. From video games like Minecraft to environmental campaign mascots, they are more recognizable than ever. However, ironically, this popularity also has negative consequences. Many people want to keep axolotls as pets without understanding their needs, leading to high mortality rates among those kept by inexperienced owners. Will the axolotl survive? The story of the axolotl is one of both miracles and tragedy. They are creatures that defy the laws of nature with their extraordinary regeneration abilities, yet they now face destruction due to human actions. If we do not act quickly, axolotls may join the long list of species driven to extinction by mankind. However, if conservation efforts succeed, they could stand as proof that humanity is still capable of correcting its mistakes. Ultimately, Axolotls are more than just a rare species. They are symbols of hope and the mysteries of nature that we have yet to fully understand. And now, the big question: will we let them disappear, or will we fight to save them? Deep within Xochimilco, perhaps, a few axolotls still swim in silence. They know nothing of the world outside discussing their fate. They do not know that humans are trying to understand the secrets of their bodies, or that they have become pop culture icons worldwide. All they know is that the water is becoming murkier, their home is shrinking, and dangers are closing in. And yet somehow, despite all odds, they continue to survive. But can they survive forever? That is no longer their decision to make. It is ours. The story of the axolotl is not just about a unique salamander. It is a tale of nature, science, myth, and the role of humanity in maintaining the balance of the world. Perhaps in the axolotl, we see something more than just a small aquatic creature. Perhaps we see a reflection of ourselves. So, what will we do next? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more fascinating stories.